Welcome to the Crazy Chicken People podcast. If you're crazy about chickens, then you're in the right place. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for checking out another episode of the Crazy Chicken People podcast today. As you guys know, I do this podcast not because I'm trying to promote anything or sell ads, but because I just really love talking about chickens, learning new things about them or new ways to take better care of them. And over the last 6 months, we've covered quite a few topics. A lot of those shows came from problems that I was dealing with and just wanting to share the things I had learned or come up with to try to resolve those. And some of those shows were topics on things I hadn't dealt with yet, but wanted to learn more about for when the time comes that I do run across a chicken that needs care I hadn't provided before, so that I could be better prepared for it at that time. But sometimes I come up with topics based on really just wanting to continue to provide the best lives I can to my chickens, even if that means going a little overboard or a lot overboard. And today's show is definitely one of those. One of my favorite things to do when I'm in the chicken yard is to feed them snacks. Getting chickens to eat from my hand or even be willing to be held and fed at the same time is always really cool. And I feel like it helps us to build a better bond with them and really form some trust. In fact, an example of this is one of my guys. He used to be really standoffish. Would never let me get too close, always gave me that stare down when I would come into the run, and definitely was not interested in taking anything from my hand. But I stayed really diligent in working on this with him. Every time I went in there, I would dangle something in front of him, at least until Bandit would jump in and snag it from him. And it did take a long time, but eventually he got more comfortable and would start taking things from my hand. At first it was just as fast as he could get close enough to grab it, and then he'd jump back. But over time, he really did get more comfortable with it, and to the point that now he's usually the first one in line when he knows that I've got the goods. And it's not just at treat time anymore that he wants my attention either. Sometimes when I go into the coop at night to check on him, he'll jump up on my shoulder just to hang out for a few minutes. He gets up there, does like some light chirping. I always assume he's telling me he's my buddy. And it kind of makes me feel like a redneck pirate with this huge Americana rooster on my shoulder instead of a parrot. Anyhow, as much as I do love going in there and having that time with them, I also know that I can't just go in there throwing a ton of scratch or unhealthy table scraps to them every day. It's just not that good for them, and it can turn into a pretty unhealthy habit. So lately, I've been pulling bunches of the grass and the other plants that are growing all over the place around here for them. The miner's lettuce that's really common in our area is definitely one of their favorites, and it is very nutritious. And I'm happy to feed them this stuff because I know it's definitely healthier than those processed treats. And pulling those weeds every day that grow around the barn does help to keep things looking a little bit better. And even though I know my chickens are happy to get these, they definitely go after them. They also know that I'm hiding something tastier somewhere else. They always give me that look like, where's the rest? We want the good stuff. But just like when picking out snacks that we keep around the house for the kids, trying to find a balance between healthy treats that I know are good for them and the stuff they really want can be difficult. So I wanted to figure out how I could still give my chickens the treats they enjoy and also keep them wanting to come and eat from my hand. And if I could do this with something healthy without spending a ton of money, all the better. There is a few things I've come up with to try to get them eating more natural, healthy things. From time to time, I'll let my kids earn a few bucks for the insects that they can catch, and we'll feed those to the girls. Or just like this last week when it was raining just about every day, we saw a ton of worms that were coming out all over the driveway. So I had them collecting those. And it made for a really fun and free snack that the chickens loved. The kids had a really good time feeding to them. But I wanted to come up with something a little bit more sustainable because those worms weren't exactly free to me. I did have to pay the kids 10 cents a piece for them, and that actually got kind of expensive pretty quick. So, what I had started looking for specifically was treats that could be put together at home fairly inexpensively, that would still get the chickens excited and provide a good source of nutrition for them at the same time. And I found a bunch. A couple of the easier ones I did try already, and I really just kind of had to guess at the amounts of the different ingredients to put in because the recipes I found were kind of vague. Directions were a little of this, a pinch of that, so I did have to take some guesses. And some of these might end up being a little bit more work than I was bargaining for, but I really like the idea of these homemade snacks that have specific benefits to them that I can choose to make at different times when I feel they might be needed. And with the type of ingredients that most of these called for, I think just going off feel is probably fine because the chickens are going to eat them up either way. So get your notepad ready because we're going to go over the 10 best delicious and nutritious snacks that you can make your chickens at home. At least 10 of the best that I could find. So starting at the bottom, the 10th best homemade chicken treat that I found is an herbal yogurt dip. This calls for plain yogurt mixed up with some fresh chopped herbs like basil, cilantro, dill, thyme, and chives. You can also add some cayenne pepper or maybe a little garlic powder that could flavor it up a little bit. And this could be served as is or poured over some fresh greens that you pulled out, kind of like a dressing that gives your chickens a boost of digestive health support from the herbs and the probiotics from the yogurt. This one actually might have been higher on the list if not for it being kind of expensive if you were buying these ingredients just for your chickens. But as a healthy snack that they'll be happy to eat, it's probably one of the better ones. Number 9 is the anti-inflammatory herb balls. These are meant to help relieve joint pain and discomfort that comes from swelling and support general wellness in your chicken. They're made by blending together chopped up turmeric root, some ginger, parsley, and cooked brown rice with just a little bit of coconut oil. Then you roll this mixture up into some small balls, stick it in the fridge until they firm up, and then they're ready to serve. These ones seem pretty quick and easy to make, and if you have a chicken you know is dealing with some discomfort, it could help to relieve that a little bit. Okay, next on the list at number 8 is the eggshell and herb grit mix. So not exactly a treat that you might give them with your hand, but I thought it was a pretty interesting spin on grit that might get them a little more excited about it. Crush up some dried herbs like oregano, thyme, and rosemary. Turn this into almost like a powder that you mixed up with some crushed eggshells, however you like to prepare those, and then some regular chicken grit. This can be given as a supplement to your chicken's regular feeding grit and can help support their digestive health and provide some essential minerals. Number 7 is the seed and nut energy bars. For these, you'll combine some seeds like sunflower, pumpkin, and sesame, some chopped up nuts of your choice, a little bit of honey, and some oats to create this DIY energy bar that your chickens should love. Mix this all up and press it down into a flat baking dish, probably about a 1/4 inch thick, and bake it till it sets. I don't know exactly how long that'll be, but I can't imagine too long. Cut this up into some small pieces, and you've got a high protein packed treat for those times a year that they could use a little extra protein, like during the molt. And as I look at that ingredient list, there's really no reason you couldn't eat some of this yourself. Number 6 is immune boosting herbal melody. For this, you'll mix up some chopped fresh herbs, some that have some immune boosting properties like oregano, thyme, sage, and rosemary. Add that to a mixture of some oats and cooked quinoa, just a little bit of olive oil, bake that up until it's kind of crispy. Then you can break that all apart and toss it around for a great treat that supports your chicken's immune system and their overall health. Number 5 is back to helping their digestive system with the Digestive Health Biscuits. These are another tasty treat that are great for hand feeding and are designed to help support a healthy digestive system in your chicken. You'll combine chopped up fresh mint leaves, dried chamomile flowers, and grated ginger with some oats, eggs, and just enough honey to help hold it all together. Shape that batter up into some small biscuit or cookie-sized shapes and bake until they're firm. Keep in mind in this recipe and the others that mention honey that it really should be used sparingly because it's really high in calories, but little bits of it here and there mixed into some of these treats is actually really good for your chickens, as honey has a bunch of beneficial properties that can help keep their gut healthy and actually reduce the chance of infections. Okay, on to number 4, which is the molasses herb lick. So for this one, you start off with some molasses, which I've never bought before, and I'm not even sure where to start looking for that in the grocery store. But you mix that up with some dried herbs like basil, parsley, and dill. Mix in some rolled oats and just enough water to get that into a thick paste. Spread that out on a flat surface and then just let it harden up. You can hang it in your chicken run as a nutritious snack that provides a lot of minerals. The herbs are really good for them. And I imagine it'd be fun to watch them try to break little bits of that off. Not something you'd want to feed all the time since the molasses is another really high calorie food, but the nutrients in it do make a great high energy treat that you can give on occasion. Number 3 is the fruity chicken cookie. And this one wasn't exactly focused on helping in any one specific way, but it's packed with a lot of healthy foods, including banana, which has antioxidants, is rich in potassium, magnesium, and B vitamins, and are definitely good for your chickens. Start by mixing up the oats, the mashed bananas, some grated apple, and a little bit of honey to make the dough. You'll have to go by feel here, adding a little of this or that until the consistency seems right. Then shape that dough into small cookies, bake until they're golden brown, and you've got another tasty treat that your flock should really love. And this one again, you could probably nibble on yourself a little bit if you wanted to. Maybe even hold it in your mouth. See if one of your chickens will come up and take a bite with you, like a weird twist on the Lady and the Tramp scene. Okay, maybe not. On to number 2. These are the Calming Lavender Lemon Cookies. You'll need some dried up lavender flowers, some grated lemon zest, and chamomile tea leaves with oats, eggs, and a little bit of unsweetened applesauce. Mix this all up, shape the dough again into some cookie-sized servings, and bake until they're brown. These treats can help to promote relaxation and reduce stress in your flock, as the lavender is known to be a great natural remedy for stress and anxiety. Hopefully your chickens don't have too much to stress about, but maybe one day you're making a change to the flock, bringing in some new birds, or if they're dealing with some other stress like a predator attack that's recently happened. These cookies might help just enough to take the edge off and provide some calming when your chickens really need it. Okay, the number 1 homemade nutritious treat for your chicken, and just to be straight, a big reason this one was number 1 is because it was pretty much the only one I can find that came with actual measurements and detailed instructions. And these are the mealworm munchies, which, by the way, is another reason it hit the top spot. I mean, it's a cookie recipe that includes mealworms. So, no sharing bites of this one with your chickens, unless you like mealworms, I guess, then have at it. But here's a list of what you'll need. 2 cups of rolled oats, half cup dried mealworms, quarter cup of chopped up fresh herbs like parsley, thyme, and oregano, quarter cup unsweetened applesauce, 2 tablespoons of honey or molasses, and 2 eggs. So to make these, you start by grinding the oats down into a consistency that's about the same as flour. I'm sure you could use a food processor or something like that. Then mix that powder up with the dried mealworms and the chopped up fresh herbs. In a separate bowl, whisk together the applesauce, honey, and eggs. Then mix that stuff up with the worm flour. You might need to add a little bit of water if it seems too thick. You're looking to make like a cookie dough here, so just kind of eyeball it until it seems right. Then just roll out those dough balls and bake them like you would any other cookie. Might be a good idea to let anyone else in the house know that these cookies you just made have worms in them, but that's up to you. I don't know that I'll get around to making all of these, but I'm definitely going to keep the list around and try some of them, especially if I see that some of these symptom-specific recipes are needed to help my chickens out. Hopefully you heard a couple that you'll also want to try because all our chickens deserve some tasty treats, and if we can give them some that are actually good for them, all the better. One more reminder that I won't have a new episode out next week, but I'll definitely be back after that with an episode I'm really looking forward to. All right, guys, y'all take care, and I'll catch you next time.